I would still do like over a couple months, right? But not necessarily, uh, you don't have to, it's not that long. It's a more immediate return, right? So some of these, you get are longer term, others you can get a more immediate results. Yeah. And then, yeah, just go with what works best for your personality because you have to enjoy it. Like at some level, you have to enjoy it,
Right.
or else you will not stick with it. Yeah.
Right on.
And then my strategy is I always think of these as pillars, right? Like do one really well. It's a solid foundation that's always there. Like you
Hmm.
always do it. You have a system down, and then start another one. But don't like start like five of them at once, right? Then you
Mm.
don't know what you're doing, and then your time, you're not focused on getting better at any one, and then they all kind of fall apart. So just focus on like one or two, right? Get that down really well, and then add another lead generation strategy after that, right? You don't have to do it all at once, just do it one at a time.
Interesting. Great point. So do one, implement it. Worst case scenario, delegate it out to where it's still being implemented on a regular basis, right?
Yeah,
Because a lot of time, did you? Because now you're still doing some of this stuff, but other people are doing it for you, correct?
right. Well, I mean, like now that I like sold my business, right, I'm not doing it anymore, but
Yeah,
all of my systems are in place, right? So that,
correct.
like,
Right.
yeah, my business partner is now doing it. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
And then, as we talked about, remember the number one lead generation system is your past clients and your sphere of influence, right? So you got to set that one up first. Like that is
Yeah.
really the, if you don't even have that, that is the number one. And this is so important that that's why it's one of the four systems, is because that client appreciation plan is really another lead generation system. And so that's why it's the most important one to set up first. That's going to get you, I think, more immediate results. Right off the bat, especially if you haven't contacted anybody, that'll get you immediate results. And then it's one that you can just put into place, have it, you do your 3 events every year, you can just put that system in place and it kind of runs on autopilot or like with very minimal work. And then you can work on these other kind of new, like getting new clients in, right? But the first one is really to do your past clients and your sphere of influence. Okay.
Past
Okay, so
clients.
like just
Yeah.
kind of high level for any of these systems, right? So you're going to set up one for sellers, you're going to set up one for buyers, right? So for sellers, what you're thinking about in any lead generation system is, okay, well, what are they looking for, right? They're not going to you're not going to get their contact information if you don't have anything they're looking for, right? So what are sellers looking for, right? Number one, they're really looking for their home value, right? That's probably the number one thing if they're thinking about buying and selling. They're looking for what their home value is, right? That's the majority of the value proposition that you're seeing with lead generation is find out your home value. Okay. Or how to sell their house for top dollar, right? They want to know the secrets and strategies that agents are using to, sell their home, right? And then you also have kind of niche topics, right? You have people going through probate, people going through divorce. I actually did a lot of inherited properties, right? Like people selling inherited properties. So just
Mm,
having like that niche information is
interesting.
also, I think, can be a very lucrative path. Like if you are the person that everybody knows to go to when somebody's getting a divorce and they need to buy and sell, that can also be something very lucrative as well, like you having some of these niche topics. Um, and then thinking about what value can you give them in exchange for their contact info, right? So that's right, their home value estimate, right? And this is like not just right, you have to be able to justify or have your script that says I'm better than what Zillow says, right? Otherwise they're just going to Zillow, right? You have to be able to say specifically why you doing a professional estimate is different than just them going on Redfin or going on Zillow to get their home value, right? Um, and then, or you're giving them, like a guide on secrets of how to sell for top dollar. And really the key here, again, is to establish yourself as that expert, right? Because you want them to give you their contact info in exchange for something of value, right? So they're going to have to think that it's something good that they really want and that you're the expert that's going to be giving it to them. Okay. And then thinking about where you provide this information, right? So like I talked about, I did a lot of inbound work, right? So that leads just come to me. So that's like you're blogging, you're doing, social media, you're doing YouTube, you're putting a lot of content out there for people to find. And then when they're ready and they're finding it, then they reach out to you, right? So that's kind of like inbound marketing, right? But outbound is you are going to the leads, right? You're going to the for sale by owners, the expired, you're door knocking, like you are just going to them out, right? And saying, hey, I'm here. Do you need help? Um, uh, versus them coming to you. Okay. And then just thinking about how often are you going to do this, right? Obviously, you should be prospecting daily, usually in the morning. But if let's say you can't prospect in the morning, like think about how, like if you're going to start doing for sale by owners and expireds, like that is a commitment. Like you need to be committed to calling expireds like every day or calling for sale by owners every day, because that's just the pace of that lead generation strategy. Like if you're only calling expireds like once a week, it's probably not going to work. So there's a pace for a lot of these that you have to commit to how often you're going to do something. So that's something to consider when you're setting up a lead generation strategy. It's the same thing like Facebook or any type of like social media. Like how often are you going to post, and how realistic is it for you to post on that schedule, right? And
Right.
just being able to commit to whatever that schedule is.
Amen.
So same thing on the buyer side, right? So when we're setting up a buyer lead generation system, right, what are buyers looking for, right? They're looking for properties, right? And it's a lot like I think you always have to be thinking about like, what can I offer that's better than what they can get for free, right? Like, Zillow, all those, every website you can find properties now, right? Like it's not like, back in the 1900s where you had to go to the agent and they had the binder of stuff and they had the properties. Right now everybody can see the properties. Your clients, your buyers are looking at properties and finding them before you find them, right? So like seeing homes is, but they can't get into the house, right? So that's why they contact you, right? They want to see a house. Or I think another thing that you can offer is off market deals. If you're, and that's part of like building up your network, right? Of like, if other agents in your area, in your neighborhood, and they have properties coming on the market, that's another place where you can provide value to buyers and say, hey, not only can you find, properties on the MLS, but I also have a network of, of agents that I work with that have off-market properties. And that's where
That's a
you're
great idea.
offering more
Love that.
value. I don't know
Interesting.
if I'm not sure. Like there's in Virginia, there was a network called Top Agent Network. So you had to be in the top 10% of agents to like be invited into this network. But that's pretty much where like all of the like really busy listing agents posted their coming soon properties. And so it was a really great network because you could see, properties
Buyers.
coming on the market
Yeah.
before they were even in the MLS.
Wow.
I think a lot of MLSs now, at least in Virginia, a lot of MLSs, our MLS implemented a coming soon feature, which was agents can put it in, but it's not like publicly facing to the to the public. So, you can be
Interesting.
looking on off market deals.
Hmm.
Or if you are, have a lot of, have time, you can also start a Facebook group
I was
that
gonna
is
say.
just your area that
Right.
people post coming soon. It's like we had several in Virginia like that it
Huh.
was agents that set up that group. For the lenders in here, that could be a really good
That could be a huge one.
strategy, right? Like you
Amen.
help set that up.
Right.
I had a lot of title companies set that up too to help their agents get more deals. So that's
Wow.
another
Great
strategy is
idea.
to get these off market deals, right? Specifically so that you can say to the buyers, I have off market deals, right?
Mm. Powerful.
Um, So they're looking, what are other things buyers are looking for? Pre-approval loan information, right? Especially like, oh, are there like, is there loans that a lot of buyers think, oh, I need 20% down. You're like, no, you don't need 20% down. Or, I'm sure all the lenders in here, like can say all those programs and stuff like that. But that's a lead generation strategy because they're looking at how they can buy a house. Like the people want to, but they don't know how to, right? And then again, niche topics, right? Like if you can become an expert in foreclosure, short sales, working with investors. Investors I think are great because they're repeat buyers, right?
Mm.
Like they pretty much buy consistently. They buy more than one per year. Um, and being able to talk about like know what an investor needs versus what a regular buyer needs is different, right? So kind of going down into that niche can be very rewarding as well.
Awesome.
And then again, what value can you give them in exchange for their contact info, right? You can give them a list of off-market deals. You can do a rent versus buy calculator, right?
Mm.
Also like a rental calculator for investors, right? Is this a good deal? Is it going to cash flow? Different things like that, and really to establish yourself as an expert for buyers. And then again, where are you going to provide this information, right? So inbound is the leads are coming to you. Again, you're posting stuff about the buy side. And then for outbound, like you're going to the leads, right? So this could be like door knocking for like around an open house, or like booths at local events, right? Like you're just going out there and putting yourself out there and trying to see who needs to buy and sell. Yeah. And then when and how often again are you going to do this? How often are you going to be like trying to go find buyers and trying to go find find new leads there.
Where did you ever test afternoon and evenings for prospecting for
I mean,
that, or no?
not really specifically testing, but what I did was I usually prospected in the morning, and then I usually would do a little bit like 4 or 5 in the evening, right? Like
Okay.
people get home or
Yeah.
just after work, like that's typically a good time to call people as
Okay.
well. So that's kind of what I did, is just a little like in the morning definitely, and then kind of like right before I would stop working, like right in that like early evening time.
Cool. Because I know that I talk to most of my agents that I work with that in the evening times. I do
Yeah,
my prospecting during the day, and then like about 6 o'clock or after, my phone starts ringing. Hey,
right,
hey, so it's like, and which is exciting. I love that part of it because I just know like that's when it happens. Very rarely
right,
do I get somebody in the morning to go, hey, got some, like so.
yeah,
It's cool, and that just shows you that that's great for real estate agents to do your prospecting in the morning. And here's the thing, like all this prospecting is so important. And the fact that I don't know what your window is or what your window was, but right now I'm hearing it's like a 6 to 8 month window when someone starts thinking about it, right? And so if you're in
hmm,
front of them with sphere of influence and reminding people who you are, what you do for a living, that window starts when they start, right? And so if you're following up with them consistently, persistently, doing something of value for them on a regular basis to stay in front of them, you're building your pipeline for 6 to 8 months down the road.
hmm.
You're gonna get the occasional, hey, found a house, this right an offer, of course, but that's only comes with prospecting. So
Right, right. And I think that's a huge thing because that was, I think, one of like my like I had a buyer agent on my team that was prospecting, but I think one of the challenges with him prospecting was that kind of I need something immediate. So
yeah,
if you're not looking to buy or
desperation.
sell right now, okay, well, we'll talk to you later. Kind of
Yeah,
thing. There
that
wasn't a
follow up.
all of these are, you have to think of leads as this is the start of a relationship, right? Because that's
Mm.
the great thing about housing is that everybody needs housing, right? Like at some point,
Right.
that they will buy or sell, right? And so it does, to me, and my mindset was always, it doesn't matter if you're like going to do it tomorrow or a year from now. Like I'm there to help
Yeah.
you. So at the very least, if somebody says, let's say a buyer calls, right? Or like you get a buyer lead come in and they're like, oh, I just re-signed my lease. I'm not looking to buy or sell for the next, I'm not looking to buy for another year. You know, I'm not gonna just be like, okay, well, we'll talk to you later. like, and just end it and just say, you know what, I'm just gonna follow up with them in 3 months before their lease ends. That doesn't work, right? Like, you have to like be there and say, oh, okay, a year from now, okay, awesome, and then just like kind of get into that conversation of, oh, like, do you want to stay in that area? Like, what's going on? Do you have any questions right now? Or just starting to educate them on, hey, I know it's a year out, but there's some things that you can do now that will really set you up for the future. You're helping them, right? And so and starting that relationship, establishing yourself as the expert there, even if it is a year out. So really, I think it is that long-term. You have to think of all of these leads as long-term relationships, because they are, right? Because once they buy and sell, right, with you, then they go into your client appreciation plan, right? So they are this long-term person, because this, like, any lead is not just that one deal, right? Any lead that comes in is a potential
Friends,
for,
family,
right, like
coworkers. Yeah.
the however many deals, right? Your law of 25 and all that kind of stuff. So you have to treat each one as like a little piece of gold, right? Because one, they can help your business, and two, it's really somebody that you can help, right? Somebody that really doesn't know what they're doing but wants to buy or sell a house, and you're really the person that can best help them.
I always love the question when someone says, yeah, I'm about 6 months to a year out. Like, okay, I just got one question for you. Because there's like, you got to remember, people don't like to be sold, right? So I always go, well, hey, let me ask you a question real quick. If you found the perfect home next month, would you buy it? Well, and if they hesitate, you got to listen to how they answer. Like, if they hesitate, that means yes.
Right.
Remember, because they don't want to be. So I'm not asking buy the house. I'm saying if you find that exact perfect, like, I don't know what you're looking for, but if you found it, would you?
Mm-hmm.
And if listen to how they respond, because if they think about it, that's a yes. So that's when you got to be really careful. If you don't call them back, because if you just hear 6 months or 12 months and like, okay, I'll just call them in 4 or 5, wrong, because they have friends, family, coworkers who are also going to be buying and selling throughout that whole conversation. You got to remember that reticular activator starts too. Like, if they're truly thinking about buying or selling, and that reticular activator's kicked in, they're seeing for sale signs, they're seeing homes, they're having conversations, they're seeing ads, they're getting hit on mentally by different stuff that they normally wouldn't be hit on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like, one of the questions that I always asked was, even if their lease is up, just asking, hey, is it possible? Like, if you found the right house, would you be willing to break your lease? And and I think, again, it goes back to, it doesn't matter what the answer is, right? Like, for
Right.
you, it's okay, if yes, I'm willing to break my lease. That's great, right? You're probably like, this is awesome, like, on the inside, right? Because then, they're definitely more motivated. But if they're not, and they're saying, hey, no, there's no way I can break my lease. It's like, like 2 months rent to break my lease. That's totally fine too, right? So then you're just saying, oh, okay, no problem. And then just kind of going along, right? So just not really caring as much about the outcome, right? As much as just making sure you do the work, ask the questions, develop the relationship, so that they're going to come back to you later. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about, I just wanted to talk about, so that was kind of high level, right? Like, how do you set up a system? How are you thinking about lead generation in general? What strategies there are? But let's specifically talk about open houses. I like open houses because, like, if you're, like, again, if you're a new agent, or you have a lot of done a lot of open houses, you really need to, like, once you have a system in place, this is really just maximizing your time so that you can most efficiently get leads and get them to convert. I really like open house. I was just thinking back to one of the open houses I did. On one open house, I did 3 deals on that one open house.
Wow.
And it was just a random buyer. Couple came in, but they were each had a house to sell, and they were moving in together. So it was a 2 sells and a buy, just from an open house, right? And then I've had other clients that, I've had, like, they walked into the open house, they were not ready. It took them like 3 years probably to buy. Like, I had to follow up with them for like 3 years before they actually bought. But since since they bought, and possibly even before they've bought, they've probably referred me like 4 or 5 people like since then. And so open houses are great, just to like you can meet people. Some people are looking to buy right away, but just the people that you meet, the more people you meet, just so many more opportunities for you to buy and sell eventually, right? So but you have to do it a specific way, right? So this is my open house system, right? So buyers, right? So when the open house, you're already getting buyers who already know they're interested in a property, right? So they're already starting to look. The buyer might not have an agent, right? So it's a great way to make that first impression, right? And now your goal is to make a good impression so that they'll meet with you later, right?
Right.
Do not do a full buyer consultation there. That's one thing that I always see is that you're like, especially with a new agent, they're so excited, like, oh, this person doesn't have an agent, and like, okay, I'm gonna go in and be like, what are you looking for, blah 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 blah. In the meantime, like 10 people have walked past you that are going to the open house, and you have not talked to anybody else because you're stuck in this like 20-minute conversation with somebody. So the goal is to just like make that really good impression, ask a couple of questions, have that 5-minute conversation with them, and then have a good segue to say, hey, I really want to be able to spend a lot more time with you to make sure I have all of your needs. Let's set up a time later to go in detail and talk, right? They'll appreciate that because like they probably have other open houses to go to too. And you don't want to do that full conversation right there, right? This is just like a very good first impression. Establish yourself as an expert so that they'll meet with you later, okay? So neighbors are also a great, potential sellers, right? Potential sellers that are curious about what their house is going to sell for, what their neighbor's house is looking like, right? And these are just, again, more people that, if they're not, maybe they're not looking to buy or sell, but maybe they know people who like, their kids or like other relatives that are looking to live in the neighborhood, right? So different things like that. That neighbors are a really great a great source as well. So with neighbors, you can offer to let them know what the home eventually sells for, right? Or like how the process went, and then offer a free home evaluation of their property, right? And then a bonus is if they need to both buy and sell, right? Sometimes you always get those people that they're just starting to look, but they still have a house that they're eventually going to sell, or they need to sell it in order to buy that next house. So then that's automatically 2 deals versus just like a first time home buyer. Okay, so your lead generation system is to first find an open house to do, right? It could be yours. If you don't have listings, then go ask another agent. Find a house that you find it, you should find the one that's like in the neighborhood that you want to prospect, you want to start being an expert in, or it's in a price point that you want to do, so I think you could be strategic about which open house you do if it's if it's like another agent's open house. Check with your broker, right? So sometimes, because some brokerages are more iffy especially if you do an open house for another brokerage. So I would definitely check with your broker on stuff like that. If it's, I think, within your brokerage, it probably should be fine. And this could be maybe a listing that, has been on the market for like a month, it's kind of losing a little steam or something like that. And just offer the agent, hey, I'm going to do this open house for you for free. I would like to do it to get leads so that, you can either come to an arrangement with that agent of I do this open house for you for free, but I get all the leads, or or they get a referral fee for any leads that come in because it's their listing. There's different ways to do that, but the point is reach out to agents if you don't have your own listings to do an open house. And I think you can sell it by, hey, it's basically free for you. You're going to look good to the seller because that listing agent may not want to do the open house, but now they can offer an open house. And for a listing they may be sitting on the market. So find that open house to do, right? Then you're going to advertise it. So this is more if you have your like as part of just your listing strategy, right? You're gonna advertise it, right? obviously make sure it's in the MLS, set up correctly. Make sure that open house shows up on Zillow, Redfin, all the websites, right? Because the reality is that's where most of your buyers are going for open house information. So you want to make sure that that your specific open house shows up correctly on the correct day. You didn't put, sometimes you see like, oh, it's at 1 a.m. versus 1 p.m., like stuff like that can mess it up. So just make sure it shows up correctly. Just a quick check there. Consider advertising on Facebook in that neighborhood, a few days before the open house. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but that's just another way to kind of just build some momentum on there. And then having open house signs and flags, the ready to go on the day of the open house, right? So this was the flag that I always use. I always had 2 flags like this, huge flags. You want to be like, you don't want all the neighbors to be like, what's going on there? Like that they know that there's an open house coming. So I always have one flag right in front of the house. So it's like super easy to find. And then one kind of at the corner, right? So that people know that, hey, there is an open house going on. And this especially is important if you have a open house that is like on a busy street or busy traffic or anything like that, because you will get people that are just randomly walking by that will just come in, right? Because they're like, oh, I saw the flag, right? So they will come in, especially like if you're in a place where there's a lot of foot traffic. And just to kind of check it out, right? And those are great leads too, right? Like maybe they're not looking to buy or sell, but that's the start of the relationship, right? You're getting their contact information. Maybe, eventually they're thinking about buying or selling. So just make sure you have all of that, all of that stuff ready. Then you really need to become the expert, right? This is your first impression to those people, right? Like if you guys have ever actually attended, like, if you're attended an open house, a lot of times like that agent like doesn't know anything about the house. They don't know anything about the neighborhood. They're just kind of sitting there like, just like being like, oh, here, like take a look at the house, right? But you want to position yourself as, hey, I am an expert in this house. I'm an expert in this neighborhood. Because typically if that buyer is looking at that house, they're probably looking at all the other houses and all of the competition, right? With that house as well, right? So you want to be the expert there with that information. So first, you want to print out the stats of the house, right? Like just, and this is usually, I just printed out the agent view, of the MLS listing. So I have all of the information. I always put reference copy on there because it was really for me. It's not really to hand out. You can, have other MLS printouts to hand out, but I always wanted like a full reference copy in case somebody was like, what is the exact, lot size of this, this property, right? So that you can, just quickly reference anything about the house, right? Then thinking about what are you going to say when they walk in about like 1 to 3 unique features of the property or of the location, right? So, people come in, you say, hey, don't forget to check out, the really high ceilings in the master bedroom, or make sure you check out how awesome this backyard is. Just to, you're there for the seller, right? So you want to also be really promoting that property. And the other reason for that too is when neighbors come in, neighbors are already starting to interview you when they come in, right? So you want to show them that, oh, if she's doing it on this house, she's going to do it on my house, right? So you want to really be also promoting that property, right? To show them what's so great about this property. Why should they choose it over the competition? You should also know what the competition is in your area, right? Because, we've all had buyers that, they come in and like they look at it, right? But then they see, oh, well, this one doesn't, the kitchen's not as big, right? Or something like that. Right. But then you can also say, oh, yeah, I've seen that other one, that one. Yeah, definitely the kitchen's bigger. But did you know that it doesn't have a bathroom in the basement? Right. Like stuff like that, where you are establishing yourself as the expert. You can like compare with them. And as a buyer, like if you're like a buyer that doesn't have an agent, you're like, oh, my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Like, and so now you're establishing yourself as like an expert there. Right. In helping them choose the right property. So, and then knowing the community, the amenities. If there's like in an HOA, like what does it have? Is it along a bus line? Is it close to the metro? And then just the general area. Just knowing that information, especially if sometimes you have like a listing that's usually not in your neighborhood. Make sure that you still know that kind of information. Um, about the community and things like that. And if you don't know, right, ask the seller, right? Just ask them like what's so great about this community, what other features are here, different things like that. Look at the past. I always looked at past MLS listings in that neighborhood, so you can kind of see what other agents are saying about that community, things like that. Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, so then you need to prepare your lead capture tools, right? So how are you getting people's information, right? So you can do a sign-in sheet, right? Or you can have cards. What I would do also is I would also have like a raffle, right? So like sign in, and then you'll also be entered into a raffle for a gift card. And that's actually how I got those 3 deals, because the lady just won my raffle, and it gave me like just an extra reason to follow up with her, and that's how that whole relationship ended up starting. So you can do a sign-in sheet. I did both. You can do just 1 page of a sign-in sheet. I actually really like to do like quarter size cards, so that each person just fills out the one small card with their contact information. You can also do, if you do it the paper way, make sure that information is clear, right? When you get it back from them, right? Some people have really bad handwriting. Just say, oh, is that a 1 or an I? Like just ask them right there, right? I just want to make sure that's the right contact information. So sign-in sheet, we can do the cards. You can do digital sign-in. Some people have like, there's programs out there like Open Home Pro. You can do all digital sign-in with some automated follow-up. So that's an option. And then text sign-in. So this I actually really liked. It was more, it was more during like a reason, like because of COVID, that you didn't want people like signing in and doing all that kind of stuff. But I think actually now it would still just work really well. And so what I would do is I would have this sign. You can see this flyer posted at the front door of the property. So, welcome to this open house. Sign in is required. So text the name and address to this phone number.
Great idea.
One, everybody has their phone, right? So they're just going to pull out their phone and just text this number with their name and email address. And then that's great, because they texted from your phone, now you have their phone number, you have their name, and you have their email address, and it's in your phone. So I think this is a really easy way to just get people's contact information. That's not like super like, oh, I don't want to sign in and all that kind of stuff. But if you have it like at the front door and being like, you cannot access this property until you sign in, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, great. Love it.
So
you ever use QR codes? Scan that and then just put in their information? No,
I never used QR codes.
Okay.
But that's definitely something else that you could do. Yeah, I ended up using QR codes for like property flyer. Like I had a little brochure, right? Like if they didn't want to take the paper brochure, or I think eventually we just never did paper brochures anymore, but we did a QR code, and then people could go to the actual like the website, our website for the property. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so then right before the open house, this is like the morning of, I would knock 50 to 100 doors around that neighborhood, inviting them to the open house, right? So this is, and so people like to get invited to parties, right? You're not just saying, hey, there's an open house, but you're saying, hey, I want to invite you. I'm just coming by to invite you to the open house, right? So it's less, I guess, salesy than just like, oh, I've got an open house, here, come by and visit. So just invite them to the open house. You should have a script on, how you're going to invite them. I always said things like, hey, like just check out the house. You can, if you know anybody that wants to live in this neighborhood, let them know, and you can choose your neighbor, right? So like things like that, just get them to come check out the open house. So you want to door knock around the area. Also, another thing that I've seen other agents do is You can also door knock and say, hey, I just want to let you know that, we're having an open house here on 123 Main Street. So you may see a lot of random traffic and cars around here. Just, I want to let you know that this is what's happening, right? So that's another way to kind of just give you a reason to knock on the door. That's not just, salesy, I'm here to sell you a house kind of thing. Okay. So more like just a safety warning or something like that. Like, don't call the cops, because there's going to be like a lot of random people in this neighborhood today, kind of thing. So, set up your flags and your signs early. So maybe your neighbor's driving, like they're going to a grocery store this morning, and then they're like, oh, there's an open house later. I'm gonna make sure I go check that out, right? So, set up your signs and flags early, and then go do the door knocking. Because you're probably going to door knock pretty much like probably up to 15 minutes right before the actual open house. And then, turn on all the lights, open doors, before the start time, because there will always be people that will show up early. So you just want to be prepared before then. Then during the open house, right, you're going to greet people and you're going to tell them about the house, right? Because you've already prepared your 1 to 3 things about the house. You've got your MLS listing printed out, so you can tell them everything about the house. Let them walk through the house alone. Like, I've had buyers that have told me, oh, we went with you because you left us alone at the open house, like versus
Wow.
like the agent that like follows you around and being like, look at this, look at this, look at this. I mean, people can see on their own, like, they're adults. So just let them walk around the house alone. You've already pointed out the 1 to 3 things that they're, looking for, that they should look out for, and you just leave them alone, right? So it's not salesy, right? Or 1, it's not salesy, and 2, it's not high pressure, right? And then check in to see if they have any questions, because where you're probably situated either in the kitchen or like right outside the door, right? Because you're greeting them as they're coming in. You're greeting them as they're coming in, and then you're talking to them as they're coming out, right? So when they're about ready to leave, right, then you can engage with them and just ask them, oh, what did you think? Have you been looking for a while, or are you just starting to look, right? And so just then you can have that little conversation with them towards the end, because then you can kind of get a sense of, hey, are they like serious? Do you think they'll make an offer, or or is this somebody more of a long-term lead, right? So, but you can ask the question. You don't have to ask it at the very beginning when they've like just met you, right? Let them look around the house, let them do their thing, and then engage with them later.
Perfect.
Okay, again, make sure that you can read their contact info. Ask for clarification before they leave, right? You're going to have a chance to talk with them when they're walking out the door. So that's another opportunity, to ask, just to make sure that you've got all of their contact information correctly. Offer to send them similar properties or to get their questions answered. If you didn't know them, you can say, let me follow up with the seller, and then make sure you just, ask, get any questions answered. And the reason is really you just want to have a reason to follow up with them, right? And just start another conversation with them after the open house. And then finally, I also really like to shoot a quick thank you video for the property while you're at the property, right? So this is
to the seller. That goes
because
to the seller or to everyone that came by?
Goes to everybody that came by, right?
Love
Everybody
it. Okay.
Because probably everybody that came by probably
Love
also
that.
went to like 4 or 5 other open houses, right?
Love that.
So you want to be,
Yes.
you want to situate yourself in the most recognizable part of the house, right? So like maybe that's like the kitchen's beautiful. So you take a video of you in that kitchen, so they remember, oh, it's that house, right? With that agent, right? So those quick thank you video just to say, hi, I just wanted to thank you for stopping by at 123 Main Street. This was the 4-bed, 3.5-bath house with a really great kitchen. We are asking for all offers to be due by Monday. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. So super quick, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to shoot this video inside the house. So make sure you do it. I mean, you could do it before the open house, right? Or you could do it just right after the open house. And just to shoot that quick video of, hey, if you're interested in the property, this is when offers are due, or just this is when, I'm happy to, find out more information about it for you, like that kind of thing. And to shoot that video. Because And that's just for me. I always like to do video because I think, when people see your face and your interaction, it's just so much more powerful than just sending a random follow-up email, right? So, and people will click on a video. Um, so you can do that when you're at the open house. Okay, it's like right before you leave, right? So then after
Great
the open
idea.
house, right, you give the seller or the listing or your listing agent, if it wasn't your open house, a summary of the number of people that attended, any feedback you got about the house, who's a real buyer, who's not, all that kind of stuff. So just give them an update on like how it went. Um, Enter everyone who doesn't have an agent into your CRM, right? So we're not obviously not going after people with agents, but enter everyone that doesn't have an agent, regardless if it's a seller, buyer, whoever, into your CRM, because then that's you have their contact information. Now this is the start of the lead conversion process, right? Once you've gotten their contact info. Then you send the follow-up email with a thank you video to everybody, and then the next day you just start to follow up with those buyers, right? Like, oh, are you going to put an offer? You should be, the agent should be following up with any buyers with agents, right? You can follow up with their agent on actually selling the property versus the next day you're calling up to follow up with all the other buyers to get them as clients.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You can even record the video before you get there early, record the video. Yeah. Just to
Yeah,
remind
exactly.
people,
I did that sometimes too. Like I would just record it at the very beginning.
Yeah.
If I knew I had to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
I would do it at the beginning.
Awesome.
There. Some other things that you can think about, I didn't really include in here, is that I never set up my signs or my flags. So I always had my field agent do it, or you can just outsource it to a third party.
Yeah.
So
Good
all
idea.
you're going there to do is to door knock and go to the open house. And then right after the open house, I left. Like I went home. Like I'm not picking up signs in the middle of the highway. I'm not like taking down the flag. I mean, that is definitely something that you can find somebody, like find a college student. Like it's not even like looking at properties on the MLS or anything like that, right? Like this is just like manual labor. Like that person just had my signs, had my flags, and I just told them you need to show up at this time and this time. Put up the flags, take down the flags, right? This is another thing that you can leverage, because your best time is not trying to get the sign, off the street. So think about that. That's another, part of this whole system.
Perfect.
Right? Is to really leverage your time at lead generation.
Show up to the mic. Show up to the mic and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have a system to like track all this stuff? You got to have something.
Yes. Well, so I have an action plan for you guys. Right. So I have a sheet. Okay. So this is what I put together this for you. I had a modified version of this, but I always, because sometimes you always forget stuff, right? So, and I always hated that if I forgot the MLS sheet, or, you're like, oh, you got there and you forgot which school which is the neighborhood school, stuff like that. So I put together this sheet. This is your prep list, right? Like a couple of days before the open house, you want to know where the address is, what the open house dates and times are, and then just writing out, okay, what are the 3 best features of this property? Where are your schools? Any notes that the seller has told you about about the property, or just anything like that you want to put down. Amenities in the neighborhood, which parking spots are the belongs to the seller, stuff like that. And then a checklist of what items to bring, right? You've got this prep sheet, so make sure you bring this sheet because you already hopefully filled it out. Comps about the other homes, other open houses in the area. That full MLS sheet for reference, that's your reference copy. Property flyers, so flyers, just for the listing. Your open house sign-in sheet, whether or not that's the text flyer or separate cards. Make sure you have all of that. Listing service flyers. So this is also something that I did was, you should also have some type of brochure or flyer about what you can do for listings, right? So that's getting your home value, offering whatever service you offer on the listing side. But what I would do is don't put it right next to the buyer flyers, right? Like usually your flyers are like right next to you, right? You're handing them out, or like you have flyers next to you. Um, and but sellers, like especially people who are thinking about selling, and but maybe they're not ready yet, they don't want to see they don't want you to see them taking a flyer about selling, right?
Mm,
About your listing services, right? They're
mm,
probably like, you know what, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to do this, or I don't want to take it in front of you, right? Because then it starts to ask the questions. Oh, are you looking to sell? Or and that's just
yeah.
natural, right, for an agent to do that. So what I would do is you put those flyers about your listing, put it somewhere else in the house. Right, like put it in like the master bathroom or the master bedroom on the side table, right? Because
Mm,
they're going by, right? They're looking at the entire house, but this is a way for them to take your flyer quietly without you
without,
like being like, like without you seeing them take it. But then they'll follow up with you later if they see that they really liked what you had to say, or
love it.
how you conducted the open house, or the results that you got, right? So that's something that you can think about, is like you don't necessarily need to put that flyer like right next to your buyer flyers, but you can
Yeah.
put it somewhere else in the house so that when they're walking by, they obviously see, oh yeah, she does listings, like let me just take this flyer for future reference. So
Perfect. And how do I get
um
this flyer? Is this
and
gonna, yeah, is there,
and then pens, obviously having
oh, okay,
pens and
cool.
like just all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff that you just want to make sure like you just bring to the open house. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
And then it just kind of goes through that whole open house process that we talked about, so that you can have it handy, like with your, for every time you do an open house, this is everything I do, right? I door knock. I, have this script that I door knock with. I, do the open house. I do my thank you video. I do all of these steps, so that you have it all. So that prep sheet is free for you guys. So you just have to go to that QR code to download that
Perfect.
sheet, and that's the link to it.
All
So
right. And I'll make sure somebody asks you for your digits. Is it okay if I share your information? Dr. Michael Lindsay would like to contact you and talk to you about
yeah,
some stuff. Is that cool? Okay,
yep,
cool.
definitely. Well, here's
All
my
right, there it
contact
is.
info,
There
so
you go. Okay, perfect.
you guys can email me. Yeah,
All
email
right,
me
awesome.
anytime. I'm happy to help.
All right.
And yeah, help you guys set up systems and all those good things. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Peggy's amazing. I hired her to help me with some stuff. She like literally just gets your mind right, and with the detail, she probably has it if it's for real estate agents. I was asking her to do something off the grid for me when it comes to my stuff. So, but
mhm.
she has built so many amazing real estate templates and different things, and you can go check out the first 3 classes that we did inside Fresh Agent Marketing under Fresh Agent Marketing Systems. It's just her. It's just Peggy. So as we just honored to have you and honored to have met you. It's just a cool thing how people come into your life. And could you put back the QR code again? And I'll make sure everybody has Peggy's stuff, but
Yeah,
grab the QR code, guys. And then I'm going to have that as part of this presentation as well. So you'll be able to scan it. There's the link to Open House Action Plan. So thank you so
yeah,
much for putting all this together. Sincerely appreciate you and how your mind works. It's just been a beautiful thing for me, big time. And it's just nice
awesome,
to actually have a template to go with to put your own stuff into, first and foremost. So you just think different, and it's just cool to have you as part of the team here on Fresh Agent Marketing. So thank you so much.
awesome. Well, thanks for having me, and yes,
Yeah.
I'm happy to come back. So
All
I'm sure we'll
right.
figure
We'll
out
invite you
ways
back. Hey,
for
you
us
got
to.
anything good? We'll just put you on a Tuesday class. So you get whatever, anytime you want to show up, we'd love to have you as always. And I don't think we can ever be organized enough or detailed enough in our businesses, and it's forever changing. So adding this,
Yep,
adding that. And so I would love to have you back anytime you want to come back, and I'll be reaching out. So thank you so much.
awesome. That sounds great. Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good week. Same time, same place, right here next week. Next week will be open mic. We'll be able to ask questions. I want to hear success stories. No coaching. It'll just be open mic. So look forward to seeing you here. Same time, same place next week. Everybody have a good weekend, and be safe. And we'll see you on the web. Take care, everybody.
All right.